I have never tried anything from Unearthly Cosmetics. They've been on my radar for a long time, and I feel like I've just been waiting for the perfect Hannah palette to come into existence for me to pounce on. I've been close before. I'm looking at you, Dreamer palette, but something held me back, and I feel like I was waiting for this moment because I bought the Gargoyle palette. I have like opened it up and looked at it, but I haven't touched any of the shadows yet. And I thought we could kind of do that together. I figured I would eye swatch the shimmers in the palette, we'll arm swatch the mattes, we'll see my first impression and how it compares to other indie shadows that I have in my collection. So it came like this. Well, this box was in like a shipping box, but then inside the shipping box was this box. And then you open it up and then you get this box. It's like one of those like joke Christmases. Okay, and then inside that box is another box, just kidding. This is the palette and it's like the same design on all of the things. But here she is. I really like this. I feel like this appeals to me in so many different ways. Like it appeals to my like sensibilities of what I realistically do on an everyday basis, which is like a neutral shade in the crease and a pretty light, often cool tone shimmer all over the lid. But it also appeals to what I just like color combination wise. Like I love the contrast in here. I love these cool tones, but I love that there's like a hint of warm in here also. I'm attracted to blues in palettes, definitely. And I believe all of these are magnetic. Actually, I'm like 99% sure. I'll write on the screen if they're not, but I'm 99% sure that all of these shadows are magnetic, which means that if there's like a favorite in here, I could pop it out and intersperse it with like a palette that I've made myself. And I love that. I would say just looking at this off the bat, I'm most excited about this one here. This is Eerie Echoes. It just looks like a really interesting teal mint, and I see like different colored sparkles in it. I'm also really excited for Mystic Stone. This looks like a multi-chrome purple with different colored sparkles in it. I'd say the shadows that I'm least excited about are probably these two. I just feel like I always have beef with navy shadows. I never feel like a navy shadow makes it look better. I feel like if they were like, choose one format and color to like make it poof out of existence in eyeshadow, I would say navy mattes. And I mean, this like the formula wise for this looks pretty, but like a dark blue shimmer like that, I feel like I'm not going to get use out of, but everything else I'm pretty damn excited about. Okay, we're zoomed. There's nothing on my eyes and I'm ready to dig in. I have no idea what these are going to feel like. Okay, so we're going to start with Awaken, which also looks really pretty. I can't tell if it's going to be like iridescent or have a base to it. Oh, interesting. You know, it doesn't necessarily feel creamy, but it feels more creamy than powdery. I'll see if I can come up with a better description than that, but the payoff on my finger looks really nice, really opaque, which makes me wonder if it's not an iridescent, or maybe it would be an iridescent if I just like picked it up with my little pencil brush, maybe like less would come off. Oh, this looks very white. Okay. I'll definitely see later if it works as an inner corner shadow. That's like one of my favorite things to have in a palette because I love an exciting inner corner shadow. I don't know if I would really wear this all over the lid. I mean, I do like wearing less like in your face multi-chromes and like shadows when I go to work. So maybe this would be a shade I wear to work, but I'm not super excited about this one off the bat. It looks like it has an orange sparkle to it and like a golden yellow shift. I wonder if there might be some green in there too when I look at a different angle. It is very pretty, but yeah, my hope for this is that it'll work for my inner corner. Okay, next let's go to Guardian. And this looks like a really pretty light goldish green, but I feel like there's like some sort of warm sparkle going on in there too. Yeah, this feels just like the last one. It kind of reminds me of, I have the Beauty Bay Nikki Tutorials palette, and there's two shimmers in that that are like awesome, incredible, I'm obsessed. Like, I'm still waiting for Beauty Bay to come out with a palette that's just that formula of like really beautiful shimmers. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, I like this one. I feel like the color of this is really unique. And like I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it's green. And then I'm like, no, it's gold. Like it really teeters an interesting line between them. And I've definitely seen that type of like browny green before, but it being so light makes it feel very unique to me also. And I love a shadow with multicolored sparkle in here. I feel like you could see all of the green sparkle and all of this like pinky reddy sparkle. There seems to be, oh yeah, like a strong, bright golden shift in there. Ooh, I really like this. Looking at these in different lighting, it's more of the same. That one we just put on looks so beautiful and sparkly, and I feel like comparatively, the first one looks more like a glow as opposed to like a super mega sparkly shade. Okay, I guess we're just gonna be taking this across, and I'm gonna swatch Menacing next. This one I'm intrigued by because I feel like at certain angles, it looks like a really interesting pinky shade, but then other angles, it looks very like red-orange. I'm hoping this isn't a black-based shade because I never tend to wear black-based multichromes. Let's see. This one feels a little bit harder packed than the last two, and I think this is going to be a black-based multichrome, or at least like a really dark brown base. Oh yeah. I'm like putting this on and I'm remembering seeing swatches of this palette and there's like a chocolate brown shimmer, and I forgot about that until right now because yeah, this looks like, it looks like a chocolate brown shimmer, which I do like better than a black-based multichrome. I feel like it's a little bit more special, but it doesn't have the same like textural feel going on my eye as shadows that I like better do. The other ones don't have such a textural feel either, but this one is even thinner than those other two. It does look nice, and I guess that like the red to it is what we see in the shift, not in the forefront. Looking at it in the pan, I thought it was going to be forefront, but I see now that it's not. So I guess I could say I'm disappointed to what I expected from looking at it in the pan. I thought it would be like a really interesting addition to have something more pink in this palette, but it's nice. I guess I could imagine doing like a dark brown look with this all over the lid, even like some black deepening it up. I feel like that could be like a pretty kind of sultry look. But overall, I don't tend to go for shimmers that are this dark. Okay, next up is my friend Eerie Echoes. Very excited to see. This one feels more like the first two. And I wonder from seeing it on the finger if this would work as an inner corner shade also, because it kind of feels less pigmented. Maybe this is a shade that I would use for like a highlight or something like that. I am kind of banking on it being an inner corner shade because I don't know, I like the color of it, but I do think that objectively it's the least interesting shade that we've swatched so far. I'm not really seeing that much multicolored sparkle. Maybe there's like a little bit of golden sparkle in there. I'm not trusting the sparkle over here because I feel like that's just residue from past things that I've swatched. But like on the lid, yeah, maybe a little bit of gold, but I'm not really seeing much of a shift to it. We'll have to see in the other lights. Yeah, in the other lighting, the brown one looks just like it does in the direct lighting. I think the minty one looks a little bit prettier because it has a very nice glow to it that I like, and I'm really seeing that gold shift to it as well. Okay, we're halfway through the shimmers. We just have like these 4 on the bottom, which made me realize that there's 8 shimmers in here and 10 mattes, which I guess is fine. I guess that's fine. Okay, the next one is Forgotten Fortress, and this one feels a little bit tackier than the other ones did. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't spread quite as easily, but still relatively easily. Okay. You know, this shade's not doing much for me. This feels like a very grayed out blue purple. I can't tell what's going on when it's out of the light. Like, what color is that right there. Is that like black? But it doesn't feel like a black-based multichrome. It just looks like very dark out of the light. And then in the light, what color is that? Am I losing my mind? It looks like a champagne, maybe? It definitely gets points for being interesting. Like, I don't have another shadow like this in my collection. The fact that I can't even like put my finger on exactly what it looks like is a selling point to me. And I feel like this shade and maybe other shades in this palette, I don't know, like this is the impression I'm getting so far. I like the color choices. I'm not obsessed with the formula, but I feel like the formula is going to be good enough that constructing a look using multiple of them or using mattes along with the shimmers, I feel like I'm gonna get interesting looks. But like this alone on my lid, I'm not crazy about it, but I do definitely give it points for being unique. The next one, Mystic Stone. I have all of my eggs in this basket. This one, it also, like, it felt very creamy. I think this might have felt the creamiest, but it didn't feel tacky in the way the last one did. And I feel like I got a lot on my finger, which I like. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, my eggs are in a good place with this one. Okay, yeah. Cool. It's like a smidge darker than I wish it was, but I am nitpicking. I think this is really pretty, and it looks like a rainbow explosion in the shimmers here, and that looks really nice. You know, I guess I feel like the effect of it isn't the most sparkly. Like, I feel like from a farther distance, it gives more of a metallic effect as opposed to a sparkle effect, but I do like that close up. It has all of these different colors to it, but if it didn't have all those different colors to it, or like if someone asked me to judge the shadow from back here, which is realistically like a more reasonable distance that you might be like interacting with people at, I don't think they would know that there's like interesting sparkles in here. You know, of course I do my makeup for me. I'm not doing it so other people can see my interesting sparkles. That would be boring. But I feel like it's good to note to not just like get caught up in the most interesting angle of the shadow and to remember what it looks like more realistically, you know? So close up, I really like the sparkles. I do feel like because of the formula though, it probably will crease on me. A lot of shadows do crease on me because I have hooded lids, but a creamier shadow will definitely crease way quicker than like a drier formula does. Looking at these in the other lighting, I feel like the weird gray one does kind of keep looking the same, but the more purpley one, I'm seeing a golden shift to it, and I'm also seeing kind of like a minty shift to it that I quite like. Okay, we've moved on to the final two, and I do feel like these final two look pretty similar in the pan. This one's just like a bit darker than this one is. Let's start with the lighter one, which is called Dismal Sky. I don't think I've been saying the name of all of them, but I mean, it's not like you could buy them separately anyway, so I feel like pointing at it is probably sufficient, right? This one also doesn't feel as hard pressed as most of them do. I like the way that this is reflecting the light though. I feel like this could look really pretty. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, I really like this. I don't know if I'm just like kind of disappointed from what I expected with this palette, so it's easier to impress me at this point, but I wasn't expecting to be as impressed with the bottom row shade as I am with this. I really like the brightness to it. I feel like it's like an eggplant purple with a shift to this like bright tealish blue. Ooh, I really like that. I don't know what else to say about this, but I think it's really pretty, and this is one of my favorites. Night Watcher, will this also be brighter than I thought? This one feels very hard pressed, and it looks quite dark on my finger. Okay. This is pretty. I feel like there was a Terra Moon shadow that looked like this that I didn't buy because I knew I wouldn't wear a shadow so deep, but it is pretty because it looks like the night sky. It's like a dark navy blue, but it has like a lot of little flecks in it. I'm mostly seeing like purple flecks. And I guess it does have some brightness where it reflects the light, but not enough to be a shade that I would like wear on my lid. I knew that before buying this. I didn't look at either shade on the bottom row and be like, those are going to be my shades. So I am pleasantly surprised by this one, but yeah, this one's like pretty for what it is. If you are a navy lover and you ordered this palette, this is a really nice navy, but it's just not, navy's not my thing. I feel like in the other lighting, the navy one looks kind of like blacker and dingier than it looks in the direct lighting, but I'm still really digging the other one. This is one sad eyelid. I mean, I guess because these are like a little bit creamy, it's not as sad as it could be, but I was wearing work makeup during the day before this that I already removed before I started filming, so I feel like this eyelid's just like, can you please stop? So here I am applying the one that I really liked onto this eye too, so I can build a look around it. I mean, this isn't like the way I typically start my looks. Normally I would start with eye primer for one, and then I would go in with the mattes, and then I would finish with the shimmers. But we're working backwards today. This is a colorful look, and I'm going to incorporate some more of the colorful mattes, but I'm going to start with this one, Gothic Grace, which I think looks lighter on camera than it does in person. I'm trying to see if it's like going to adjust. No, but it doesn't look quite that light to my eye. I'm going to try to just put this a little bit high in the crease because I feel like if I don't have some sort of transition shade, I might not like the look as much. It's looking very white-based where it goes down though, which I'm surprised by. I don't think that really did anything, but you live and you learn. I'm going to use Veil now. I will say some of the matte colors I think are really pretty, especially these two. I've been fantasizing recently about looks using just mattes, which is very weird for me. Like just like one or two colorful mattes on the lid. And I feel like those two would look so pretty, and I'm excited to do that sometime soon. So let's see if this one will work. Not a ton of fallout in my crease. Hard to judge in this way, but I'm definitely seeing it go down. So that's like a, you know, bars on the floor type of thing, but that's kind of all I gave it a chance to prove itself, and it did that. It did the bare minimum. I really didn't need to be doing this on camera because I feel like we're not gathering that good of intel right now, but alas, here we are. I'm gonna use a little bit of my friend the navy on the outer edge because I want to deepen it up with something, and I don't necessarily want to do black, and I don't necessarily want to do the shimmer. Okay. Alright, as much as I like already crapped on the navy, I do feel like that did a good job at just deepening up the shimmer. You know, I'm wondering if these mattes are less pigmented. Like I feel like some indie mattes try to have like the biggest swatch appeal, and they end up being way too pigmented for easy use. So if these are less pigmented mattes, I feel like that'll make them a lot more user-friendly. And I really like how that just seems to be deepening up the shimmer on the end without looking like I just plopped down like a really pigmented powder over top. Also, I feel like one of the main reasons I'm so scarred by navies is because I've used navies like one from Juvia's Place and one from Menagerie that had a ton of fallout, and navy fallout on my face just makes like such a mess and is so hard to clean up. It's like such an insidious pigment that just doesn't get off my face. So I really like the no fallout of this one. I feel like these eyes are very oceanic, and I like that. I'm gonna put on my base and everything, and I will be right back. Okay, I am just going to kind of speed through my lower lash line, but you will hear complaining if there's fallout, because I'm kind of hoping that I won't experience that now. Okay, I think I'm gonna keep it as that. I just used Veil, which is a very like denim looking blue, and then I used Midnight, which is the brighter blue. I don't know if I love a blue lower lash line. Like when I was doing my other makeup and looking at the top of the eye, I'm like, I really like the top of this eye much more than I would expect I would. I don't know if I love the lower lash line, but it's fine. It's fine. I do want to try that shadow, the one that we first eye swatched for my inner corner, but it is funny because I think it has a warm shift to it, right? And it's funny that this palette is so cool toned, and yet that shade has a warm shift to it. How about that? But let's see. Okay, it works. Yeah, it goes on in a way that I like my inner corner shades to go on. I like when they're like a bit glowy, so it doesn't knock my socks off. I definitely have other shades in my collection that give me this type of effect, but again, I like that it's in a palette. It's enough, like it's enough of an inner corner shade to satisfy me. I don't think I would be closing this palette and reaching for Terra Moon's Phoenix, so that is a plus to me. And here is the finished look with the Unearthly Cosmetics Gargoyle palette. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. It's not a look that I would normally do on a daily basis, but I do think it's really pretty and yeah, very oceanic, as I said. And I'm gonna tell you what my lips are so that when I look back on this footage in a while and I'm like, I really like that lip combo, what is that? I'll know. So I'm wearing the Milani lip liner in Spice and this CoverGirl balm. This is the darkest one. It's in Bliss You Berry. I just put like a little bit of this in the center and I feel like it's like a nice fall kind of like Jess Bidden type of thing. So look at me using a little drugstore lip combo. Okay, I need to eat dinner, but before I eat dinner, I have to go for a run. So I'm gonna go for a run and eat dinner. So if I come back to this for the swatches looking a lot more haggard, you know why. It's the next day. The makeup lasted surprisingly well through jogging and stuffing my face with pasta, but my morale didn't, and post-run and pasta Hannah just wanted to watch 6 Feet Under. So that's what I did. Today's a new day. Let me show you what I have on my face today. First of all, I ordered one of their satin lipsticks that I've been dying to try for such a long time because it's such a weird color. This is the shade Mandy, which is like a olive, like a khaki olive. I'm wearing it over a brown lip liner, so I think it's a little bit deeper on me than it would come out if you just put it on straight from the tube, but I really like it. On my eyes, I did my matte Fantasy. Oh, I was gonna come back and say I'm Hannah's evil twin who wears matte eyeshadows, but I forgot to say that. I used Ancient Spire as my crease color, and it went on pretty well. I do feel like it caught a little bit there. Usually what I'll do with matte shadows is I'll apply it, like I'll touch down with my brush first in the spot that I want to have the most pigment. If I went just right here with that, like then this would be darkest and I don't want that. But I feel like it really stuck there when I did that and it didn't blend into the rest of the crease. So I don't know if it's because my eyelids are a little bit dry from all of the eyeshadow removing yesterday. I don't know if it's just this shadow that does it, but thought I would mention that. And then on my lid, I used Grim Morning for the inner half. That's like the sagey green. And then I used Veil again, this like denim blue for the outer part. And they do really go into each other very nicely. I think Grim Morning, the sage, is a little bit stronger of a pigment though, because I feel like the denim blue was having a little bit of issues blending into other shades, but it still worked out for the look well enough. For my lower lash line, I just did more of that Ancient Spire, and then my inner corner, I used Eerie Echoes, that like minty one that I wasn't sure if it would work as an iridescent. It's very pigmented. It has a lot more presence than the inner corner shade Awaken that we used yesterday, but it does have a nice glow to it, so I like it. It is an acceptable inner corner. I do really like this look. And I think with like my current preferences, I feel like I'd be more likely to feel comfortable walking around in public like this than I would with the blue look from yesterday, although I did like the blue look. Okay, I'm so curious to swatch these out. I'm really curious to see if the mattes are going to swatch as kind of like lighter pigment, more watercolory looking swatches. Okay, we have Gothic Grace. Yeah, that one's very white looking. Awaken. Ancient Spire. Guardian. Perched. Menacing. Eerie Echoes. Grim Morning. Forgotten Fortress. Sinister Figure. Oh, that looks like a pigmented one. Mystic Stone. Deep Sleep. Veil. Dismal Sky. Midnight. Night Watcher. Darkest Hour. Cathedral Shadows. Here is the entire palette. I forgot how much space 18 Shadows takes up on my arm. It is interesting looking at the swatches because one of the things that drew me to this palette was that it had like the 3 mattes that I need for like a neutral look. Like it had the matte that I thought would be my transition color, the matte that I thought would be like the deepening up color, and the matte I could use for like my outer corner. But Gothic Grace, I don't know what anyone's doing with that shade because it's so like light and white based. Like I feel like it's too light to be a shade that I set my lid with. I tried to use it as a transition yesterday and that just kind of like added white to my crease. Like maybe people are using it for maybe I could see like a cut crease type of situation where you use that for like a spot without shadow type of look. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a weird choice to have in here. So Ancient Spire now is the one that's like my transition color, and Perched is just the one that's like a step above that. I haven't been doing that much deepening up of my outer V recently. I feel like I've been enjoying looks where I do that less. Although I did like that navy on top of the shimmer. I did like that. Maybe I am the evil twin because I'm not supposed to like navy. But I can see from the swatch, the thing that I liked about the navy is that it's not like insanely pigmented. I feel like when deep shades are insanely pigmented, like sure, it might be an impressive swatch that you can show in social media and people drool over, but practicality, this is so much more useful than a super pigmented navy would be. And I feel like the black looks like a similar formula. This blue looks like a similar formula, although I feel like these types of blues are historically hard to formulate, and that might be why this is like that. So I'm curious to see how that shade really performs. And this purple here is definitely the most pigmented of any of the mattes in this palette. I don't know how much use I'm gonna get out of this though. I feel like I don't tend to reach for this type of like warm, deep purple. Okay, let's talk about these shimmers and do some comparisons. I don't know if I was just going into this with like the highest of hopes, but I do feel a little disappointed by the shimmers. I just thought they might be like amazing. I just thought I might be like amazed by them, and I'm not. But sometimes I feel like I'm influenced by the way a shadow feels, and I feel like it is important, like it's valid that all of the experience of using a shimmer goes into my impression of the shimmer, but I'm very curious to compare some of these shimmers to indie shadows that I know and love and see if they look any different in a swatch. Okay, so as I already mentioned, Terra Moon's Phoenix is one of my all-time favorite inner corner shades. It has like this intense orange glow to it, and I really love that, and I want to see how that looks next to this top one up here. Okay, I feel like the Terra Moon's one is doing a little bit something more. It's a little bit more shifty, and it's just like a little bit more bold. You'll have to let me know if I'm nuts, but I feel like this one is like a more amped up version of this, which I do get. I feel like I've yet to find a palette where I like all of the shades just as much as I like my indie shades, but I will give it points for being close, okay? And I wonder if this is going to be a mean comparison, but I have it in front of me, so I'm going to do it. I'm excited for this shimmer here, the second one that we swatched. I feel like this one it was like a greenish gold, and it has a lot of multicolored sparkle to it. And some of my favorite shadows that I tried recently were the sparkly shades, the Sparkle Light collection from Shine by SD. And I have Flash in front of me here. I feel like Flash is gonna kick this one's ass, but I gotta do it. I gotta do it for the people. Yeah, I just feel like Flash is more shiny and it has more presence. It's not the same exact color, but they are in the same family. I feel like Flash is looking a little bit more silver, but actually up close you can see that like green to it and the pink sparkles. And there's definitely green to it and warm sparkles in the Unearthly one. But yeah, the Shine by SD, it's just like a little bit more oomph to it. The next one's not exactly the same, but I want to compare Divina Water Mist to the one that I have on my inner corner now, because I feel like if I wasn't using this on my inner corner, I would have used Water Mist. Like, I feel like they serve the same purpose, but Water Mist is a shade that I really exclusively use for my inner corner because it's very glowy and it's not as like sparkly. So yeah, not the best comparison. And I feel like Water Mist isn't even like showing its shifts right now, is it? I mean, you can see a little bit. Oh yeah, I think you can see a little bit. The Water Mist is like a very interesting shade. And I don't know if this Unearthly one is quite as interesting. This shadow is the one that I swatched and I couldn't quite put my finger on because it looked very gray. And I feel like it looks a little bit more normal in the swatching, a little bit more like I could put my finger on it. I'm going to compare it to Divina Galeen, even though this looks much brighter than this one is. I feel like they're maybe in the same realm, and maybe it could give you kind of like a benchmark comparison for what to expect from this shadow. Alright, Galeen always surprises me because it swatches sheer, but I do feel like they're in the same family. I also feel like Galeen works surprisingly well as a layering shade, and that over this could be really pretty. But yeah, I think you can see that Galeen is more like sparkly and shiny than this shade is. I think having them next to each other shows how dingy the Unearthly shade is. And then for this one that has all the multicolored sparkles, this purple that I was really excited for, put all my eggs in its basket, but the effect on the eyes I don't think is as grand as I hoped it would be. I want to compare that to Queen of Chaos. This is from Shine by SD in collaboration with M. Jones 5018 and Bizarre Volta. I know they don't sell this anymore. I'm sad they don't sell this anymore because I feel like this is such an incredible shadow, but maybe you have this too. And I really love this. I feel like this is what I was hoping the Unearthly shade would be like, but it just didn't quite make it there. Alright, you can see the color is brighter, it's shinier. I think the thing that I love about this is it has those multicolored sparkles in it, if it will ever focus, maybe. But it also has a lot of sparkle, like in general, and it has a shift to it. So I feel like no matter how you look at it, no matter the distance you are from it, it's a super interesting shadow. And again, just like with the previous one, I feel like putting this next to the Unearthly shows that the Unearthly is a lot more dull. Now, I know that's some people's personal preference. They want shadows that are a little bit more like dulled down, grungy. Maybe that's the right word. So it's not necessarily like the Unearthly shades are like that by accident. But yeah, I don't think they're as spectacular as the indie shadows that I already have and I love. I am excited to keep using it some more and see how my relationship with it progresses. I feel like at this point I'm mostly just excited to wear Guardian. I'm excited for Grim Morning. I really like the tone of this matte and I feel like I don't have anything like it. And I'm excited about the navy matte. I don't think I'm going to become someone who regularly uses a navy matte, but it is my favorite navy matte in my collection, and if I'm building a palette where I need a navy matte, I feel like what I would do is remove this one and include that, instead of including my Menagerie one, which would be what I would have done previously. I don't know, maybe my hopes are too high, maybe I'm ruined from using the most amazing indie shadows. I know there is a price difference between buying a pre-made palette like this and buying single shadows that cost, you know, $18 a pop. But for me, I have the single shadows and they always win, and I feel like, why am I still trying to buy palettes? Why am I still looking for the palette that's going to be just as good as my indie single shadows when I already have the indie single shadows? Is it because there's a gargoyle in front? Is that it, Hannah? Is it because there's a gargoyle in front? And that's going to be everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it shed some light on the experience of trying Unearthly. If you've tried Unearthly before, let me know. I know that they've made a lot of changes and improvements over the last couple years, many of which I like to see. Like, I like to see a brand grow, but I'm curious if other formulations that they have or that they currently sell are different than this. So let me know if you have other palettes, if you think like your experience is similar to my experience. I also have a Patreon where I randomly select eyeshadow every month and then I do a couple looks with it. I'm going to have that link down below. Either way, thank you so much for being here. Bye.